There they are. Hey.
I mean, it would be a little difficult for us to keep on this session if there was no Canon people doing a live session here during the Smart Factory. Otherwise, it's been like 140 pre-registered. It only says 16 here. So let's see what happens. We will have a good conversation regardless. And being from the outside of America and watching Canon Solutions America, one of the things I really appreciate about Canon as a company seems that you have a deep sense of responsibility for the industry in America. You are everywhere. You are in media, you are at shows, you do your own thing. And then on the side, you also develop some of the best products in the market. How come is that?
How come we're everywhere? That's good marketing, I guess.
Yeah, but I was sorry. I was also thinking is that I have made some interviews also with some of your colleagues before, and it seems so integrated that you are a people's company.
Absolutely. We always, our whole philosophy is working together for the common good, or what's called KIOSE. And so absolutely always put our customer first, and especially during this year with COVID, it's been probably the most important thing we've done is to try to help our customers to get through this year together.
Yeah, and one thing is, of course, that the pandemic is definitely giving you challenges in that perspective. And I think that also in relation to these kind of virtual events, the Think Ahead conference was also judged by many as one of the best events in the industry. And of course, to change from having one of the best physical events to a virtual event in a relatively short time, must have not just because of the temperatures given some sweat on their foreheads, but also from a work perspective. How do you manage to get things like this going? Alan, did you participate in the Think Ahead?
Yeah, I sure did. It was a great event. Tons of people were there. It was the first time that we did it virtually. So, like you were saying, it was very different. I've been at all the Think events since they started, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do it virtually. I think we had a lot more people that were.
You think? I think I know the answer, but I would like any of you to answer the question anyway. But do you think that when we are hopefully soon over with the pandemic, the mix of having physical events? I know that you have a new experience center as well in Boca Raton. But the mix of virtual events where you can reach a larger audience also virtually, combined with physical events where you can really show off with equipment, do you think that is something that you will
like this or live? So it's a big part.
Have videos like this so you could really talk to people. But as far as getting a real full experience, it was incredible what your team was able to pull off. So kudos to the event team and also to the Think Forum, which I know is the administrator of Think and all of that. But something that I really appreciated was how accessible Inkjet became to everybody who attended that conference, and they were able to get a real breadth of into the how do I sell what comes off the presses, which I know is a workflow is a huge part of this story. So I, for one, was thrilled when I saw that Canon was involved in this conference, and that you have back-to-back sessions actually. And this one is, I would almost say, like an intro to production print. And then the next one is going to focus on publishing, which is so important right now. So digital book manufacturing, as you call it, because we are talking about the chat, and I will be there if anybody needs me. And welcome, Team Canon, and thank you, Morten.
Not a competitor. It was actually maybe a partner. It was Hunkler. So I can't say that is a competitor in that perspective. I think that that's a company that you talk to frequently, right? I asked the question whether Industry 4.0 or 4.0 and Smart Factory, is that something that you also talk about in the canteen?
Take some of that. I know Jane probably talks about it because it's what she does for a living and promoting it. So I'm on the solution side, and I can tell you that we don't maybe go under the guise of 4.0, the internet 4.0. But what we do is we look at how can we help our customer and what is it that they're having challenges with, and collectively with that data, go back and find out what the best solution is, which oftentimes is fixed. The hard touch points on the back end are usually fixed with the front end. So yeah, I think it's really a matter of, as you said, being a people company. We want to help our customers, and the way we help our customers is by helping them find.
Well, actually, I think it would be nice to hear from Nick, who's, in the service area, certainly Industry 4.0 is a big part, is service too. So Nick?
Of course, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is a big part of the service organization, and being connected remotely and having that data and being able to see what the complete system is doing and how we react to it is very important. And again, as Dennis said, we are Canon Solutions America. Yes, we make some very competitive and very high-end printing systems or printers, but we are a solution company. And in Dennis's role, Dennis, we'll use Hunkler as the example. Dennis will perhaps, as the solution, put a Hunkler on the end of one of our pieces of equipment, and then it's a Canon Hunkler print line, but we hold. So yes, it's very important for all of us.
That makes sense. Well, still not so many people, but I think we should start with the presentations. As I said, for me, it's a content creation opportunity. We will push everything into our INKISH channel during the next week, so we can hope for a lot of replay. So you have prepared a presentation, so why don't you just take it away, and then I will shut off my mouth, but my microphone and my camera, and then I will be listening, and then I can hopefully ask some qualified questions afterwards. And for the people that attend, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat, and Deborah and I will manage them and get them through to these nice people from Canon. So take it away, everybody, and thank you so far.
Thank you, Martin.
All right. Hopefully you see the presentation. But good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Perfect. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us as we answer the question: why a smart factory matters in production print. All right. I got to figure out how to advance the slide here. Oops, that's not it. Oh, there we go. Thank you, whoever did that. So my name's Alan Filson. I'm the Director of Professional Services at Canon Solutions America, and I'm your moderator for today's session. I am joined today by a panel from Canon Solutions America. These are subject matter experts, including Dennis Soucy, Senior Solutions Analyst and Finishing Specialist, Nick Thorne, Director of Product Support and VP of Field Service, and Jane Nerf, Product Marketing and Workflow Automation. Today, there is so much information available at our fingertips, combining connected devices, vastly increasing processing speeds, and faster network connections, all being applied to business applications to create the industrial Internet of Things. The printing industry is actively adopting IIoT, which we commonly refer to as Smart Print Factory. Printing industry consortiums like the nonprofit SIP4 organization, whose members include printers, pre-press, publishers, vendors, distributors, consultants, and educators, are working together to standardize how print jobs and the information data surrounding these jobs are shared from customer to the print service provider and ultimately the end user for real-time job monitoring, shipment tracking information, invoicing, operational benchmarks, inventory management, and more. Gosh, I don't know why I don't. Oh, there it is. Oh, there we are. So why does automation matter in a digital print production? In speaking with print service providers, they're being asked to create customized and personalized products in small quantities while not increasing manufacturing costs. This mass customization requires print service providers to optimize all stages of their print production. The need to embrace and implement lean and just-in-time manufacturing techniques to improve their supply chain and minimize waste to meet demand is becoming evident in such comments as stated here. Add to this, the current pandemic has reduced labor force, has many employees working remote, right, and has sent many skilled offset press operators into an early retirement, which is leaving companies looking for ways to drive more volume with less people. The answer is clear. Autonomous production, which is the use of data and network communication to connect machines, management, and information systems, as well as other devices that all work together to execute the most efficient manufacturing process. This is how early adopters of smart print factories will benefit. Automation will remove potential points of failure, lower production costs, increase throughput, and allow for best practices across all sites and shifts. This can improve profit margins and provide pricing flexibility in competitive bids and better serve end users. Automation is essential for meeting service level agreements while ensuring profitability, and can enable short-run print capability for additional job opportunities, possibly even a new revenue stream for your company as mass customization and increases of short-run printing become more prominent. Canon is utilizing new technology to enable lean manufacturing, on-demand book publishing, and targeted communications that will help bridge offline communications with online transactions. When it comes to automated workflows, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Print jobs flow differently through commercial print shops than in high-volume transactional data centers, direct mail houses, or even book manufacturing. It's all different. However, there are many core processes across all print production that have the opportunity for improvement through automation. Automating job submission, for example, either via 24/7 web portal or by using some type of XML file transfer methods that seamlessly send files with job production information. Doing this allows a print service provider to eliminate errors in rekeying orders in a different system and allows for increased throughput speed of incoming orders because you don't have the touch points. Prepress is one of the more critical areas in automation as it ensures files don't enter the print production until they are properly pre-flighted and optimized for print performance. This is also an area where we can eliminate pre-printed forms and the dependency on warehouse inventory and its associated cost. Production management, including scheduling and monitoring and device management, can all be improved with rules-based intelligence, batching of similar jobs, and data analysis for performance improvements. And in the printing process is where automation can minimize manual intervention in favor of batching jobs with similar print characteristics together. The use of barcodes and dashboards and cameras for quality assurance, data gathering, and proactive maintenance all give the printing process new efficiencies. And finally, finishing and fulfillment. When we speak to a smart print factory, we are building complete production lines from input to fulfillment. Automating processes all the way to the finished product provides the ability to gather data for tracking orders, communicating equipment setups across the enterprise, bridging offline and online processes steps, and improves efficiency to make short-run printing very economical. At this time, I'd like to turn this over to Dennis Soucy as Senior Solutions Development Advisor. He can share with us some of the considerations in designing an automated smart print factory and explain why finishing is so important to the overall automation process.
Well, thanks, Alan. As you mentioned, the success of a whose publisher offers softcover laminated books with textbook blocks that use, say, limited paper stocks or white versus cream or coded versus uncoated, family format sizes 6x9, 8.5 by 11. So these are the variables of this repeatable product, regardless of the book title. With all of those variables provided, you're now ready to design around that set of variables. Designing production lines that marries those variables, with the highest workflow efficiencies makes this a repeatable formula for a smart factory. So where do you start in the design process? That takes me to the second part of your question. Surprisingly, you start at the end. As defined by Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the word finish means to come to the end of a course, task, or undertaking. In the print production process, this is a step that typically forms the final product from a raw material after it's been printed. Many think that this is the last thing that needs to be considered when investigating a new digital production print line, right? But in the case of a smart print factory, finishing is where it's recommended that you start the process of designing an automated print production line.
And can you share why that is the case, Dennis?
Sure. Knowing the finished product, perhaps that it's a book or a marking collateral piece or a postcard, When you implement a smart print factory, you're building an end-to-end production line for repeatable production of a given product. Therefore, the best practices are consider the finishing at the pre-press in order to optimize the production line efficiencies and the targeted SLAs at the end. So when you spoke about the challenges, if I were to view those challenges from a finished product perspective, as an example, I would break them into areas that I have little control over. For example, the variation of the customer orders that we receive, formats, media selections, SLAs, quality expectations, or run lengths. Also, each printer and or finishing line requires its own unique page layout and imposition. So you have cut sheet, you have continuous feed, you have the print marks, you have barcodes, 2 up, 3 up, etc. And finishing lines have mechanical limitations that sometimes could hinder productivity. Switching from 2 up to 3 up, media loading, binder clamp setup, the time it takes to adjust a 3-knife trimmer between job changeover, and to figure out how to maximize efficiencies of those unknowns, uncontrollable factors, we look upstream, as we mentioned before. So one major way we can accommodate this is through job grouping and or batching of jobs automatically in your workflow for optimal use of the production line and finishing devices. So what is batching? So a customer order comes in, it's cream versus white or small versus large, in no particular order. It's filling up this big print queue, or as shown here, a big tub. Intelligent batching sorts these into small buckets of like jobs based on pre-templated, rule-based criteria. Be that format type or media type, printer type, page counts for binding, and then it takes into consideration late stage binding, in other words, game day decisions for which printers are currently available and capable of doing the job. There are set timers for release frequency as to not overload the common denominator or the least common denominator, which in many cases may be at the time it takes for the binder clamp to adjust, for example. So I can set my jobs in an order and time release that allows the clamp to adjust in increments from small to mid to large and reverse, instead of 1 small, 2 large, 3 small. The result is gained efficiencies. So the benefits of a smart factory that implements these practices for finishing include fewer changeover and make ready. It equates to less risk for the operators and less operator errors, higher throughput and productivity, quicker turnaround times for tight SLAs. Rule-based automation minimizes workflow steps. It enables game day decisions with little to no impact on production. This is how we accommodate the rush job, or the reprint of a job that jammed in the bindery, or a print line that goes down requiring jobs to be reimposed, reformatted on the fly without returning to pre-press.
Thank you, Dennis. So speaking along the lines of efficiencies and game day decisions, you're right on the mark when you say that a smart factory needs plan B, right? That's really what you need, just in case you have a printer issue, for handling the unexpected. Which leads me to my next question. How do we ensure maximum uptime of the production lines? Nick, can you shed some insight from a service perspective on how a smart print factory uses automation in the area of service?
Sure, Alan. Of course I can. But before I do that, I'd like to go back to something you stated previously regarding the influx in remote working due to the pandemic. Now, from a service perspective, we've offered remote access for a long, long time. But you're absolutely correct. One of the brighter outcomes is due to the pandemic, we've had this wave of acceptance in favor of remote access, especially when it comes to enabling printer performance. So by connecting your digital printer to the remote data center, you actually enable us in service to go from a reactive state, top left-hand corner, you're working, you're living, and then you flatline, and that's when we come in, which is what we would call break fix, to a much more proactive state with regular health checks as shown on the right side. So that connection enables us to collect big data, and we take the pulse of various parts, we monitor them against peak production cycles, and it helps us provide the optimal uptime and proactive maintenance. So that's what it does for us. Thank you. I thought I was driving. So just to be a little bit more specific, for today's smart printers that have innovative technology, it enables service to harvest machine data and let the machine actually speak to us. So it enables many functions. We can monitor the machines from just about anywhere. Indeed, I'm sat in a room down in Boca Raton. I can monitor machines from here. I can do it from my phone in the car at the light. We can do it in the factory. We can do it anywhere in the world. So it's really very, very active and good for us. And the machines can even let us know if there's a potential issue arising. Well, what does that mean? We can set triggers on a machine. So if a motor reaches a certain torque, then we can have the machine tell us that it's reached that torque, and it may error in the next 3 to 5 days, and consequently we'll send somebody out to look at it. So it's very good in that respect. Now, maintenance planning and maintenance scheduling is far easier because we know what the machine's doing, we know where the wear points are, we know what the volumes are. So that allows us in service to send the right person with the right part at the right time. So very good. And additionally, we use the data afterwards to see what actually happened, why it happened, and then, of course, to offer the best course of proactive action to avoid it happening in the future. So that's 3 of the very big functions. But we also use the big data to create service dashboards. And in the slide, there's 2 service dashboards used there. It's very clean and clear data. We use Power BI, a Microsoft product, to formulate these dashboards. And we use them for benchmarking. That's comparative performance. That's machine to machine, company to company, area to area, technician to technician. And it's instant. It's brilliant. We look at failure frequency and error flagging of machines. Again, it's all about trending. The back office functionality from remote connections includes meter reads, which is cleaner, clearer billing, no billing issues, no hassles on that front. And again, for future product improvements, we use that real data running in a production environment, not a factory environment, not a lab environment, but in a production environment to be able to formulate new machines and indeed field change orders for the machines that are out there. So the best results from a remote connection, in all honesty, is a faster response time from us in service because often we're there instantly. It's a quicker MTTR, a mean time to repair. And should my members of staff, which is the service support members of staff, need to get involved, we're there in an instant. We're literally on the end of a line talking to the local FE. So just to be, I'm sorry, again, I thought I was driving. So today's maintenance is really an enhanced maintenance, and it's enhanced by that connection. So we have 3 major types of maintenance. We have a proactive maintenance, which encompasses offsite monitoring and data analytics to stay ahead of the unexpected outages. We have corrective maintenance, but that's far leaner and faster today, allowing higher production rates. And then, of course, the customer is no longer alone. And most of our customers today have started to embrace self-assist maintenance. And really what that does is it keeps the machine running, or you could call it limping, or you could call it band-aided, until one of our technicians gets there to do the correct fix and brings it back to 100%. So Alan, at this point, I'll hand it back to yourself.
Thank you, Nick. With a customer-first mindset and equipment with many sensors and direct connectivity, service organizations have laid a strong foundation for rapid entry into smart print automation. With this, print service providers benefit from better operational efficiency, more effective use of resources, increased internal and external service levels, and improved ability to predict periods of maintenance. This all equals more uptime. What does all this mean to the end customer? I'd like to spend the last 5 minutes of our presentation discussing what the Smart Print Factory has to offer the end customer. Jane, can you share your thoughts on the benefits an automated workflow brings to the end customer?
Absolutely. Thank you, Alan. So as you mentioned, as a print service provider experiences better operations, resources, equipment, efficiencies, I mean, this is all going to trickle down to all levels of the printing services and then therefore ultimately to the end user or the end customer. A smart print factory creates an opportunity for several benefits. First, improved customer service. So through online order submission comes extended hours for order placement, as well as immediate knowledge of order acceptance and real-time tracking of order status. but most importantly, customer service reps that were previously busy rekeying orders into systems or manually tracking orders on the production floor now have all the information that they need readily available to assist customers as sort of an account manager or excuse me, or as like a partner in meeting their marketing service needs. It also offers better market pricing to the end user. The traditional cost per thousand pricing, or the 5 to 10% overage charges and rush charges for jobs that were once required to justify traditional offset presses being set up, are now eliminated, as well as the inventory holding costs and the shredding expenses. So these improved cost structures allow print providers to be more competitive with the pricing that they can then extend to the end user. Opening new market opportunities in digital short run, personalization, and mass customization, as well as enabling greater responsiveness to market ebbs and surges, or A/B testing for brand managers to find the right target. And because smart factories minimize manual intervention in favor of big data and production and in quality inspection and service and analytics, the end customer experiences ease in reordering print jobs based on that big data being saved, optimal turnaround times, and improved print quality and improved customer relations as well with the service provider. A smart print factory is really lays the foundation for best practices for onboarding customer applications, as it defines criteria to establish consistent, repeatable output. And while these 5 benefits address practically all end customers, there's even more benefits possible that are more specific to industry segments. Thanks, Alan. So if we were to look at transaction and direct mail segments, the Smart Print Factory will use capabilities like file enhancement to replace a customer's pre-printed offset form with a digital electronic form, saving the end customer hidden expenses for offset production, warehousing, and obsolescence of those forms. Other file enhancements include inserting blank pages into a PDF automatically, or selecting media by page, or most importantly, tagging information within the PDF that then can be used as a source data to barcodes. An example of the benefits of the barcodes would be like a 2D address barcode or an intelligent mail barcode, which are the first step towards postal savings. Barcodes also enable document tracking through production, giving the end customer insight to the job status in real time. But more importantly, in the transaction world, this allows you to capture data entry information for regulatory compliance audits and archiving and even quality control. A fourth benefit is document security and document integrity. Electronic forms can actually have security features built in, like a digital void pentagraph or a digital verification grid, or even a halo like you often see in an event ticket. These types of features basically are more cost effective, provided the document security against fraudulent duplication and unauthorized copying. This is not only great for the transaction checks, which some people think about, right away for secure documents, but also for in the education department for things like report cards or prescriptions or government documents, insurance forms, legal documents, and even copyright, watermarks. So that if duplication was done, you would then see that the brand was being at risk. Or even for those who may be doing marketing activities for coupons that have an allocated budget that could be exceeded if fraudulent duplication occurred. All these things are important when you're considering brand protection. And finally, through personalization, you can also create targeted messages that enable upselling, cross-selling, and brand awareness through things like onserts. Now, if you look at the graphic arts industry, which includes book manufacturers and commercial printers, the Smart Print Factory complies with the CIP4 organization standards for file transfer and communication between the end customer and the service provider to feed data back to their MIS for faster invoicing or to their ERP for inventory management. It can also provide profit, have improved profitability, can be recognized by the end customer in inventory and distribution cost savings, in lower life cycle costs for the document printing on demand, and eliminating shredding costs of like unsold book titles. It can also unlock new market opportunities to sell books into new markets that could not be in the past, like backlist and out-of-print titles, new authors, or four-color trade and scientific books. Previously, readers seeking out a out-of-print title of their favorite author, had to purchase them on eBay or at a secondhand shop, and none of this revenue made its way back to the book publisher, which is the end customer. So with digital printing and a smart factory, publishers can easily bring a title out of print by printing it when the consumer requests it or when they actually purchase it. A fourth one is hybrid printing, where your print service provider is using digital press, smart factory, and an offset press combined, but can offer better ramp up and ramp down production for faster fulfillment on book titles, or for A/B testing. You only want to print small quantities to test two different market pieces in an A/B test, and then you can then they could still go to an offset device for that high volume if that's what they wanted to do. So in that hybrid environment, it's actually reducing some of the risk, eliminated with some of those estimations that were done in the past. And then lastly, Alan, as you kicked off the session, you noted that end customers are have been asked for customized and personalized products in small quantities. The attraction to digital presses over offset is variable data printing, and print service providers that embrace and implement a lean and just-in-time manufacturing techniques optimize their supply chain and minimize their waste. They are far more likely to then be able to meet the end customer's demands for this mass customization. Interestingly, I remember seeing surveys that 85% of online purchases are actually driven by printed mail, and personalization increases that open rate that helps you actually bridge that offline message to that online purchasing. So with that, Alan, I'm going to turn it back to you. But I did want to mention that, if anyone's interested, the part 2 of this session, they'd actually get an opportunity to see this Smart Print Factory in action. And I think, in viewing it, would probably identify additional benefits that they would could also, achieve.
Great discussion, everyone. Thanks for your insight into this topic. I would just like to open it up for questions at this point. So please go into the chat and put your questions in there.
We don't have so many people right now, but I do have some questions. So rest assured. Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. I'm a little confused, to be honest, which is not a good sign after listening to you guys, right? I'm confused about because, I can't help think about that when you look at all the benefits that you have listed here and all the opportunities you have as a printer, as a brand owner, as an end user to this wonderful world that is revealing in front of our eyes right now. How much is actually specifically related to the term and the definition of the smart factory or industry 4.0 or 4.0 in your opinion, Jane?
I think, how much of it is related? Well, without that lean manufacturing, you really can't drive down those costs as a print service provider. So the ability to offer some of this personalized or mass customization, isn't really a market they can enter. without having an automated process that is really minimizing those touch points and meeting those SLAs, and then also, most importantly, meeting them at a cost margin that makes it a business that they can actually justify.
The reason I'm asking is because I was thinking that, with all due respect, every vendor is nowadays talking about Industry 4.0, right? And everybody is then, the question comes then, if everybody get the same advantages as you just described as part of the Industry 4.0 mantra, then where do the competitiveness move? Because if you can all deliver the same experience because we are standardizing the flow of data and how it can be utilized. Do you get my point here?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, I think from a service perspective, there's talking the talk and there's walking the walk. And everybody talks the talk. Not everybody walks the walk. And you're welcome to come into my office and into my department, and I'll show you what we do. It's very clear and it's very obvious that we keep the customer as number one. We keep the ongoing continuous improvement in mind consistently, and using IoT and using big data. We've driven this company from reactive to proactive, and will continue to do so. And our competitors are also talking the talk. But again, please come down to Boca. Let me take you for a walk.
So I would add, if you don't mind, I'd like to add to that, Nick, on from your perspective. We Canon, but mostly through Nick's organization, we also, as you mentioned, we work with Hunkler, we work with all the different finishing partners, for example, right? But we also drive them to the same excellence, right? So it's not just us saying, okay, for the Canon products, here's what we're going to give to our customers. When we work as a partnership with another vendor, a finishing partner, for example, we say, this is what we're doing. This is what collectively we can do together. How do we get to that common goal so that the end user, the customer, sees the benefit of the total solution?
And that makes a lot of sense. And that was where I was trying to hint a little bit, because I think that, whether you work in service or in marketing or as a pre-sales specialist or whatever, I think that sometimes I actually raised that question in some of the previous sessions as well, is that from a printer's perspective, from a PSP, it must sometimes be a little confusing. Who should I work with? What should I choose? How do I get into the right? And that's why I also started the session asking how, because being a human company as you are, a people's company, and also a technology company, that message needs to come across in order for people to really understand that the value is not just about the technology, but it's also understanding the needs from a customer perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah, you asked a great question earlier. How ingrained is that in our culture? Is it just a marketing term, or is it really ingrained in our culture? And it really is. It's in everything we do. It's not just the finishing. It's not just the printer. It's also the front end. We're working with like EFI. How do we send information back to the management information systems, and how do we make sure we're getting that content directly from the customer and seamlessly push it through to the printer? It's really holistic, and everyone in the organization is striving to constantly build a better mousetrap. So we're always out there trying to help our customers get to that next level.
So
can I just add to that also? Thorne, you did point out that also every customer's smart factory has some unique capabilities. Not everybody has the same equipment on the floor. Not everybody has the same software investments up front that they want to continue to utilize. And so there is, there's always going to be some customization. How do you process an order when it comes in? If you want to batch things, how do you want to batch them? How many operator shifts do you have in a day? What are your hours of operation? So I think that Canon brings a unique, we've built a very good mousetrap, but even so, you have to decide what kind of cheese, is going to, best meet that, the print provider, what he needs to offer to attract, his customers or to service their needs. And so, when we say we always put customer first, we really look at not just our customer being the print service provider, but their customer as well. And so, And so really, even when we do go into a smart factory relationship with the print service provider, there are questions about the expectations of their users and the uniqueness of, and then we take that mousetrap and we fit it, specifically to meet those needs.
And if you don't mind, I want to just elaborate. So I mentioned to Nick about Nick and his service organization working very closely with the third-party vendors, right? But in addition to that, the team that I work with, the finishing specialists, I think a common trend in our, I guess, for Canon against what we typically see from some of the other competitors is we actually are involved very heavily with the finishing. Versus a handoff, right? And when, I don't mean to say that in a way that we're better, but what it does do is it allows us to understand better what the finishing can do, where its limitations are, and then allows us to go back to Jane and team and Boca to say, okay, this is where the transition from a 2-up to a 3-up is a bottleneck. How can we leverage our software on the front end to make it optimized and most efficient on the back end? And I think that's what separates us a little bit from some of the some of the competition that's out there, is because we are really looking at not just what we can touch and what we can fix, but how do we use our toys, our tools and toys to work well with the other toys that are available.
That was, to be honest, that was also the impression I got from you guys when I interviewed some of you at Printing United last year. So that takeaway is, in my opinion, totally clear. Another thing I would like to ask you about is if we, though you probably would like to have an all Canon printing company, the reality is that sometimes you see mixed vendors. It can be offset machines and different types of binding equipment, but it could also be different types of digital equipment. Is that a challenge in your perspective in relation to the Industry 4.0? How to interconnect between the different brands, maybe even different generations of equipment, or how do you approach that part of it?
Morten, that's a great segue into the next segment. Jane, you want to talk a little bit about the conveyance and how we work with everybody?
And Alan, you were really smart at just pushing the ball over to Jane, right?
I was going to let him talk because I feel like I speak too much.
You're important, Jane, so that's why,
No, but actually that has been something that, Canon has done for many years, is always coexisted with, being able to support legacy applications, and that means other vendors' printers, and be able to drive those from a single point of control. And we see that in our Prisma product line, and also, moving into conveyance, where it's much more a PDF specific data, but as far as whose device is at the other end of that production, if it is a PDF device and you need that to be part of that solution, our integration team works with you to protect that investment that you have.
Morten, we have shops where we don't have a single Canon printer on the floor, and yet our software and solutions are driving the entire facility. So for us, it's just part of what we do.
Another mantra that nobody's really touched so much upon in this session and also in the previous sessions is one of the bigger changes in the industry we see these days is a much tighter relationship between PSPs and vendors, in the sense that sometimes you need to have extreme long-term relationships because the investments of, for example, if you go into web offset or web-based digital, or if you go into really big specific application finishing lines with the printers, I take that, of course, you're aware of this this thing, and of course you're ready to take that upon also as being a full service provider in that sense. Do you see already now a tendency among your customers to move in a direction where it could be similar to more variable price model, similar to what, for example, Heidelberg is offering with their subscription services and things like that? Is that a trend you see, or is that too early or to talk about, or how do you think about that?
Well, I think, subscription services is absolutely a trend, and Canon, like any vendor, is always looking at, meeting what our customers are, expecting for us, so so it is a direction.
But not a demand you see specifically expressed from your customer side at this time, you would say. The reason I'm asking is because I can tell you that at the Graph Expo in Orlando, which is a long time ago now, I spoke to both some people from Memjet and from HP in relation to if you are a PSP and you're looking into investing, for example, in inkjet. It is, the competition has not been smaller since that time, because you've got more machines in the market, you get more vendors entering that stage, and picking the right partner is, of course, has historically maybe be very much focused on the equipment and the specification of that. But nowadays it seems that it's way more important to find a partner that can support your business in a way longer term perspective, and that was why I was curious about if also the business models are challenged these days.
Yeah, I think it absolutely is, and that goes back to what we talked about from the end-to-end solution, right? Yeah. So when you go to the finish line and you figure out what their final product is and how to optimize that by going back to the beginning, right? If we have the ability to customize the front end to make all of their pain points or many of their pain points go away, that's where the trust and the relationship builds. And then you throw in a Nick Thorne and an organization there that is there during a pandemic, 7x24, 2-hour response time, and all of Alan's software engineers doing the same thing, hosting training, helping people get their printers color calibrated. And then another part of Alan's organization is our Project 360, where we go to our customers after we install it and help them onboard new applications to grow their business, because guess what? Growing their business does a little bit of benefit to us as well. So it's a handshake, it's a partnership, and by doing those things together, really what you're seeing on this screen here is all of us working together and being that face to the customer, which keeps them, I guess, closely aligned to us.
I can't help. I mean, maybe you take this as a provocation, but it's not the intention. I just want to ask you something, because if you look at the presentation that you just did, it was also a little bit focusing on capabilities and a little bit on specifications, a little bit on output, and a little bit of everything in order to make sure that people understand the value that you create for your customers, right? But if you look at what you just said, Dennis, isn't this also, isn't that a challenge in sense that we may need in the future to market the companies and the people way more than the equipment, because the equipment becomes the facilitator of the business rather than how fast you are or the color gamut or how we interface. I mean, do you get my point? I mean, because
I do. Yeah, but the point, I guess, is maybe it's I'm speaking out of line, but I feel that we don't need to market it because we live it, right? Right. So every time we meet new customers, I think Francis, he's all about the people and all about the relationships, and we become a family with our customers, right? So when we do that, we go in with the genuine interest of trying to help our customers, and they sense that right from the beginning. They don't feel like it's a marketing program. They don't feel like we're selling them. They feel like we're being consultative to them. And that consultative approach is what really wins them in, and then what keeps them is Nick Thorne and Alan's feet on the street.
And you have to remember, we are Canon, and although we are Canon Solutions America, we are Canon. And we like to say we are one Canon. Canon is a vast company. We have a financial system. We have multiple different companies within Canon, and we have the backing of Canon. We are one Canon, and you can see today we act as one family. So anyone that comes to us sees that.
But Nick, as I said before, it could sound like a provocation when I was asking it, but it was not intended to be provocation. I'm just trying to to erase some of the things that I believe is in the change, because I think that what we all see now is that just the fact that we have a pandemic has changed everything in how we communicate, in how we sell, in how we engage with each other. So of course also business models and how we do that kind of business together is not just a matter of having one Canon, it's also about moving the Canon to the right direction, right? So to speak, right?
I'm sorry, sometimes the passion, most of us are very passionate about what we do, and sometimes it comes across a little bit aggressive. But
I'm passionate with my things as well, so don't get me wrong here. That's totally okay. Guys, since we are going to meet all of us together with Jeff in the next session, I suggest that we just log out now, go directly into our session, log on there, and for the audience, we have only 8 people here right now, but move on to the next session, and then we will continue a wonderful debate on the other login. Is that okay with you guys?
Perfect.
Sounds great.
All right. Okay. See you in a few seconds.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah, see you in a second. Okay, great.
As people, as we started heading into like Industry 4.0 and people start recognizing really we've got so much intelligence today and big data and artificial intelligence, that what we do with that data is making our print applications more and more singularly focused. And so the only way really to meet that one personalized application is through automation.